basically have to talk to my ego like, I feel like I have to talk to my ego self like that because I'm speaking from the God within me. I'm speaking from a higher place. And I feel like it has to check the ego a couple of times, like, chill out. You will never be as high as me. Hello, everyone. My name is Nanye Ojibe, and I am the creative mind behind McVay. Manifestations come fast and easy. Now, I am on this spiritual journey and I'm doing a lot of self-discovery. And today in this video, I just want to talk about the ego because I'm learning a lot about the ego. I'm learning that my ego likes to control. The ego likes to think that it's the ego that is doing the work. It is the ego that is creating thoughts and seeing things come into fruition. The ego, I feel like, relies a lot on willpower. I believe the ego when it told me that I am the greatest and that I can do all things, that I can do all things. I believe the ego when it told me all those things because it sounded good. It sounded real good. It does, right? But the thing that was really harming me is that I cannot do all things. Doing all things is a little hard. I'm a human. I have a human experience. I go through real emotions. So relying myself to do all things was really detrimental to my mental health, my well-being. Because it's not me that can do all things. It is my higher power. It is the God within me that gives me the strength to do all things. Not just me. But the ego loves to thrive in that I am energy. The ego gave me an inflated sense of self, but I'm not knocking the ego. Like, this video is not about talking down on the ego because I did that too. I thought all these things about the ego. I think the ego is very close friends with like lower vibrations, like the devil. I think they speak a lot of the same language because they both live in fear. They both live in scarcity because it's like they don't think there's enough. But I understand that the ego is mine. My ego is a part of me. So I don't want to suppress the ego or make my ego feel like it's not good because essentially I feel like I'm telling a part of myself that I'm not good. So I had to become one with the ego. I had to really understand my ego. And as I understood my ego, I realized that my ego was basically just trying to protect me. My ego was in a space of survival. And that could be due to my past experiences. It knows what I've been through. So really it just moves like that so it can protect me. The ego lives in like a defense mode. My ego moved as a defense mechanism for me. But when I fed into the ego and gave my ego that control, gave my ego the control of self, and I relied on my ego to tell me who I am based on external validation, based on the world, because the ego gets its energy from the outside, from people feeding it. You know, the ego lives in pride. And again, this isn't a video bashing my ego, but I understand when I give my ego control, I am taking myself out of alignment with my higher self. Because my higher self, my God energy, the God in me, lives on the highest frequency. The God in me doesn't need external validation. The God in me tells me that I'm already perfectly and wonderfully made. The God in me, I feel like it is aligned with light energy, whereas my ego is aligned with the shadow side of me. But in order to have true alignment, in order to truly prosper, we have to align the two. We have to step into our divine energy. And really being aligned with divine energy, it is integrating the light aspect of you and the dark aspect of you. Because the ego, our dark aspect, our shadow self, is needed. Within this world, I'm learning that my ego provided me with a lot of wisdom. When integrated with my higher self, with my light energy, it looked like a lot of strength. You know, I had the God in me telling me I'm strong, and I also had my mindset. I also had the ego telling me I'm strong. My ego self allowed me to set boundaries. It allowed me to really stand in my power and own it. Own the God within me. So basically, I learned to be humble in front of God, humble in front of the light, humble with that light energy, and know that that energy is what really keeps me going, is what keeps me strong, that I am nothing without the God within me. I'm nothing without that energy. So humble in front of God, but then confident in front of man, confident with my ego and telling everyone else that I am the greatest. I am the best. I am queen. That's that ego talking. But it knows that I am all those things because of the energy within me. Pusha T said on a song, and I love it, New God Flow. He says, I believe there's a God above me. I'm just a God of everything else. I put holes in everything else. New God Flow. F everything else. Yes, that is the energy. That's what I feel like is divine energy, when we are balancing the light and the dark within us. So I learned that my ego self is not the enemy, and I don't need to suppress it, or I don't need to think that it's bad, because as I'm on this journey, I'm learning to walk more with my higher self. So I did feel like I had to suppress my ego self because it does align with my shadow self, but it serves such a great purpose. It's only when the ego tries to take over. That's when things can get problematic and unbalanced. And that's when I am allowing myself to be disconnected from my higher self. But when it's aligned, I step into a powerful energy. This energy allows me to express my individuality, assert my needs, and it gives me the strength to take inspired action when I do feel the voice within me, but can sometimes feel scared to do it in my external world. But when I tap into my ego side and be like, you know what, I'm great, I'm the best, I can do that, then it's like that extra push. It's that extra bump to really allow myself to tap into my higher spirit, to not only know it but walk like it. It's like the ego throws up the ball for alley-oop, but it's the higher self, it's God who is slam dunking it every single time. Every single time. But your ego self does need to throw the ball up in order for God to slam dunk it. I hope that makes sense. My mind just went there and it made sense to me. So if you are anything like me and your ego self is frontline trying to take control, you're feeling energies of insecurity, you're feeling low, you're feeling like you have to compare yourself, you're feeling jealousy, I want you to become aware of that. Be aware that that energy is not who you are. That's not what your higher power says about you. That's not the power that's real about you. I think that it's just a sign from your ego that you need to step into your light more. You need to appreciate yourself more and what you bring to the table. Also, you don't need to compare. Your ego likes to compare, especially nowadays with social media. We'll look at something and we'll feel bad about ourselves, like, oh, we don't have that. That is your ego making you feel that way. If you feel that way, acknowledge that that is nothing more than the ego, and it's really our higher power. It's really your God self reminding you, showing you things that are possible, showing you what you can have. So really, when you see things like that, like, just get excited, because that means yours is on the way. But if you are having trouble with your ego and your ego is taking over and you just feel like you're in a state where your ego is a little bit louder than your higher self, things that helped me was to practice awareness. Like, just being aware, like, oh, okay, I'm comparing. My ego is on one right now. But just being aware of our ego, knowing that that is separate from our highest self, separate from the real God energy within us, I believe that is the first step in order to separate the ego from what's real. And then when you know that that is your ego, show compassion, because like I said, our ego self is not bad. If anything, our ego is there to protect us, is there to help us. So you don't necessarily have to judge your ego, but show your ego some love. Because really, when our ego is loud like that, it's rooted in a space of fear, of hurt. So really, just showing our ego some love, it allows it to feel seen, so it doesn't have to scream. And that base right there will help it in its healing. Another step you can do is to reframe the ego from thinking it's the devil. Because that's what I did for the long time. I thought my ego was the devil. And the ego can play like the devil if you allow it. But reframing it from such negative energy, and know that it's a part of you and you need that in order to tap into all of you, the divine you. You can then give it its importance, because the ego just wants to feel important, and become friends with your ego. I like to ask my ego when I'm feeling like my ego is loud. I like to be like, ego, what's up? Like, how can I support you right now, ego? What's going on? What do you want to show me? Like, I know you're here to just help me grow. So let's grow. Like, talk to me, ego. So reframing the ego does help. And my last tip for integrating the ego with my higher self was really through meditation and prayer. Like, allowing my ego mind to be still. Like, it does not have to do the most right now. It does not have to be so prideful. It does not have to boast. Because at the end of the day, every single human being is special. Every single human being deserves love and attention. But in order for me to really be in tune with that, I have to quiet the ego. I quiet it. And then when I quiet the ego, it allows the stillness. It allows my higher self to really come to the surface and speak to me. And the higher self, my higher self energy is such a queen. She's such a queen, but she do get ratchet because she had to tell the ego, you could never, ever, ever. My queen energy likes to keep that ego in check. So when the ego, our shadow self, is aligned with our light self, because they need both. You can't have darkness without light. It's impossible. Both of them need to coexist. And when they do coexist, when you do find that sweet balance, that's when you tap into your divine energy. That's when you tap into all aspects of you. That's how I am feeling. I feel like I am tapping into all aspects of me, and I'm letting both parts of me shine. And with this energy, I believe all of the manifestations will come fast and easy. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Mwah. Love you all, and I'll see you next week. Bye.